Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Toys. Today we are going to look at a game study, that is a game based on the concept of bishop pair. So basically it's a game where black is trying to snatch the bishop pair, means he is going to take one bishop for his knight. Okay. So bishop pair means whenever there are two bishops against a bishop and knight or against two knights. So people have a conception that bishop pair are always good as compared to bishop and knight, but it is not so, and especially during the opening, if we waste moves to get the bishop pair, then it can be very dangerous. So this is what this game is all about, and bishop pair can be a very important factor during middle game and end game, that is if both bishops are active. Sometimes one of the bishop is bad, but still people think that, oh, I have got a bishop pair, but it's not so. Let's get started with the game. So e4, e6, e4, d5. We have the French defense here. So far we have discussed the move e5 in more detail. Today's game is about the main move, knight c3. So this becomes the classical setup. White wants to develop nc3. Here black has three good options. He can take d, he can go knight f6, which is the classical variation, and he can go for the move bb4, which is called the Winnable variation. So in this game, see, this is not about opening, so I am not going to discuss about opening too much. Little bit of general ideas I will just tell you. So with the move nf6, black tries to attack the pawn on e4 and also protect d5. d5 didn't require any support, but it's basically development with attack. And black doesn't worry much about e5 because after e5 and d7, see, anyway the c8 bishop is bad. So he wants to put pressure on e5 and d4 now, because we have got the advanced pawn structure. So in advanced pawn structure we attack the base of the pawn. So soon black will start piling up on d4. So c5, knight c6, qb6, and all pieces will put pressure on the d4 pawn. So this is one of the main lines here. White has moves like f4, okay, nf3, bd3, which are playable in this position. In this game, white went for the simple setup, e into d5. Another move which is very popular is the move bishop g5. Alekhine used to play that. So ed5, and now it's necessary to take ed because black wants to simply have more control of the center and open the c8 bishop also. A good thing about having nf6 for white is because of nc3, nf6, he wants to put pressure on d5. So he gets on with the move bishop g5. So immediately putting attack on f6, pinning the knight on f6 and creating a threat. So the threat is bishop f6. If queen f6, then knight d5 was for free. And after bf6, if gf has to be taken, then the king side is ruined here. White has a very strong move, queen h5, and then he will be able to castle long. If you remember the concept of missing knight on f6, whenever there is no knight on f6, queen gets a very good square on h5. Black simply goes bishop e7. Development is done. He protects the f6 knight. He is ready to castle. So position is quite solid, but white is already on the slightly aggressive side and black is having to defend the position. Natural move, see, nf3 here, but nf3 might allow bg4. So white prefers to wait and place the bishop to d3. Generally, whenever the bishop's move is forced, we know that this bishop has only one good square. So in those cases, the bishop is usually played maybe before than the knight also. Like here, see, b5 is of no use, bd7 and c6 are there, c4 is not possible, b2 is simply passive. So the only square, good square for the bishop is d3. So it develops the bishop before the knight in such cases. This knight also gives the option of going to e2 instead of nf3. So black went nc6, most obvious move. So far the play is level. Black is also developing properly. Development with attack, and here after nf3, black had the idea of bg4 in mind, putting pressure on the d4 pawn. So white also had this thing in mind that whenever NC6 attacks d4, I will do knight e2 without getting bothered by bg4, so that I can do f3 followed by qd2 and long castle. So this is a very interesting idea, and now black should have just castled, or I think black could have tried the move even h6 over here. Could try castle h6, rook e8 and go ne4. That would be one of the possible ways. Now black went for the move nb4. So there is a typical tendency for players, those who think that the bishop is powerful, let me take the bishop and I am taking a useful bishop, okay, for the knight. So we are overestimating the power of bishop over a knight. See, in the opening, the tempo counts the most. The time or the development what we are doing, that matters the most. Here black is violating a very important opening principle. He is moving the same piece many times and he is trading for a piece which has moved only once. So this bishop has moved once, this knight we can see has already moved once, this is twice, and when it will trade, it will be its third move. So 3 minus 1. So we are adjusting the tempos. So knight has wasted 3 moves against bishop's 1. So 2 tempi are lost. We can see that 2 tempo loss is taking place. So that is not a good thing. White could have played very well castle here, okay, which might have given similar same position to the game, but white thought of playing first knight g3. It takes control of the e4 square and knight already starts eyeing the f5 square. So this made black panic a bit. So first he went nd3, qd3, and here castle would have been absolutely fine. See, after castle, knight f5, at the most bishop will be surrendered. So bishop f5, queen f5, rook e8, castle. White is slightly better, but the black position is quite solid. There is some pressure on d5 and all. So white is a little bit better over there, but at least the position is solid. Black wasted another move by playing g6. So firstly, what has happened? Bishop pair is there, but you look at the bishop. One of the bishop is still not doing much. It is just the defender of f6. After playing g6, the king side has become weak. Look at the other bishop. The c8 bishop is usually the bad bishop in the French defense because the center pawn is fixed on its color, bishop's color, and bishop is not having any other good place. On g4, it would be attacked by f3. f5 is not available because of 2 attacks, and on e6 it's a bad bishop. It will be blocked between the 2 pawns. So see, out of the bishop pair, one of the bishop is not active. So the bishop pair advantage here will really not count. White plays normal, castle. Still black would have castled here. Black played c6, maybe for the idea of queen a5. Or maybe qc7, making space for the queen. He protected the d5 pawn also. It went ra-e1. We discussed this during the Caro-Kann exchange also. Whenever we play ra-e1, it means we are interested in having the move f4, f5 at hand. Otherwise, rook f e1 would also be playable and would be good. So ra-e1 is played. Whenever white feels f4, f5 can be a very strong idea, both rooks will operate on the open file. So ra-e1 is played, development with attack and a threat. Threat is bf6 now. After bf6, bishop is pinned, so white is about to win the piece. Black went castle. This position is very famous one, and we find in many books on chess combinations. And what has happened here? See, by playing some just simple moves, white has achieved a winning position. Okay, well, we might argue why it is winning. We have learned how to evaluate the position. We will see the activity. Okay, so queen versus queen. This queen is active. E1 rook versus 8. Of course, E1 is on the open file. 8 will require a lot of time to come. F1 versus F8. F1 is not fully active, but it is slightly or almost equal to the F8 rook. Bishop G5, better than the bishop on E7. This is attacker. E7 is defender. Knight G3 to F6, knight is near to the king side. This knight is still going to take time. Roughly they are equal. And C3 knight to c8 bishop, also we can say the knight is slightly better. And to all this we should add that the move is white's. So overall activity is there, plus the move belongs to white. Secondly, now what we see, this diagonal has become weak. So white starts thinking of some combinative ideas based on this diagonal. Started the combination, he should have in mind one bf6, rook e7, there is one more move, queen f3, creating attack on f6, and there is bh6. So at least these four moves should be there in mind. Queen f3 will allow bg4 instantly. So queen f3 may not make much sense, even though bg4, queen f4 position is perhaps good for white. bh6 r8 in this case helps black only. Okay. White thinks of a more forceful continuation, rook into e7, queen e7, creating the pin, and then queen f3. So he wants to bring attack on f6, forcing the king to come to g7 and defend the f6 knight. And the f6 knight is badly pinned. If white can bring more attacks to the f6 knight, maybe he will get the piece over there. So rook for bishop first he gives, and then if he gets the knight for free, it will be two pieces for the rook, and on top of that, a bishop sitting on f6 square will soon lead to a mating attack. So white went rook takes e7, queen takes e7, queen f3. Of course, white must have seen the move bishop f5 here, bishop f5 to block the line. There is a very interesting calculation. Bishop f5, knight takes f5, g takes f5, and normally we would assume that queen f5 put pressure on f6, kg7 forced one pawn for exchange, and that is positionally a decent position. Okay, but white has a forced win here. White can use the move qg3. See the color complex here. The black squares are all weak, and we see that all the moves will now happen on the black squares. So that is another technique. The squares which are weak, some side is weak on one particular color, so the attack will happen on all those squares. So it is not merely coincidence, it is called the use of color complex. So see qg3, see how the moves are going to happen on the black squares. So queen g3 threatens threat bf6 mate, see again on black square. So now the king has to go away, the king goes to the black square. Queen h4, see again attacking on f6, two attacks, and there is only one support. So only move king g7, see which again he had to make on the black squares, true because of the bishop's diagonal. Now comes queen h6 check, see again check on the black squares. King g8, bishop into f6, and now forced to take queen f6 because of qg7 mate. So qf6, and white wins. We are going to discuss a lot about this color complex in our upcoming lessons later on. Let's go back to the game. After queen f3, black went kg7 directly. We noted that bishop f5 was failing very badly, and now it looks like there is no way to make any particular progress because knight h5 just allows gh5. White had seen this idea. He saw that the f6 knight is pinned, and the square to attack f6 is one is h5, other is e4, and white's two knights can reach the e4 square. So he starts with knight c4. This move is very, we can say, pretty move. D into e4 forced, otherwise f6 will be taken. So d4, knight e4, and now we see that black position has simply collapsed because to queen e4 we are not interested in bf6 check kg8 queen e4, but other way around, queen f6 check kg8 and bh6. See again lot of things happening on the weak black squares. And what has happened here? Black, in spite of being rook up, is not able to save the game. Only move queen d4 to stop the mate. After q d4, f6 is forced, and we see that queen for rook position and white is winning. After ne4, the massive threat is bf6 check, winning the queen. So moves like bf5 are not going to help. Black had to move his queen away. Queen to e6, bishop f6 check, king g8. Things still look playable. Already materially white has grabbed enough for an exchange. He has got a pawn already, but the king side is very badly weak, and again as I told you, the moves happen on the dark squares. Queen f4 and it's game over. In fact, in the game, black resigned over here. He could have continued with the move qg4 or queen f5. So after queen f5, queen h6, threatening mate on g7, only move queen f6, knight f6 check, king h8, and white has choice between qh7 mate or queen takes f8 checkmate. After the move q g4 also, queen h6, and there is no qh5, doesn't help because of qg7 checkmate. We can say rightly black resigned in the game. Okay, so this was all about the game where we saw that snatching the bishop early with the knight, and that too at the cost of so many moves in the opening, is not a good idea. I hope you are enjoying these lessons. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.